Okay, so welcome everybody to the Thursday evening Dhamma session at our Vihara in Lumia. And just before we started the session, I asked some of the people who are here present what would be a good topic. And one of them suggested maybe talk about contentment. And another person said, can you talk about how to remain peaceful and not get sucked into the anger of the other people? So they're related, right? Whether it's another person's anger, whether it's another person's anxiety, or whatever it is, whether it is another person or another thing. Right now, I don't know whether you all heard the helicopter or whether it was blocked as background noise, but there was a helicopter circling around. So should we all get panicked? Is there a bushfire coming this way? Or should we remain contented and do nothing? Is that what contentment is about? So it's a good question, isn't it? It's a real question. I feel that we don't need to do too much because I can't smell smoke and I can't hear water bombing. It was just the helicopter circling, so I think we'll be okay. But if I did have a little bit of suspicion, I would actually stop this and check whether there is a bushfire alert at the moment. It was a hot, windy day today. But anyway, so it's important, right? What is contentment? How is the right way to be contented? Isn't it? What is contentment? So there is a very, very beautiful verse that comes to my mind from Sutta Nipata, from the Parayana Vagga, and that is the further shore, crossing to the further shore. And I'll say it in Pali because that's how I remember it. It goes like this. Koda santu sito loke, kissano santi injita. So ubhanta mabinyaya majje mantana lippati. Who here is contented? Whose mind has stopped wavering? Who has, by understanding the two ends and the middle, has become completely stilled? Something like that, yeah? It's not exact translation, but that's the general idea. It's quite a beautiful, very inspiring kind of idea, and also this gives an indication. When you hear the Buddha's response to this, I'm not going to go into it, but what the Buddha describes here as somebody who is contented is somebody who is fully enlightened, an enlightened being. So any time when we are able to incline our mind towards contentment, it's like we are inclining our mind or getting close to the mind of an enlightened being. It's quite a nice feeling, isn't it? It's also inspiring. It's very inspiring, but it also shows that to be fully contented is not an easy thing to do for somebody who is not yet enlightened. Why is that? When we are not enlightened, then we have the defilements in our mind. And it is those defilements that makes the oscillation of the mind. Yeah, the mind moves, mainly craving. Yeah, one form or the other of craving, desire, wanting to be or wanting not to be, wanting something to happen or not to happen. All of those things, even very, very subtle forms of wanting, is what makes our mind to move. And that is when contentment is lost. So, of course, to be deeply contented may be a bit difficult. However, as we meditate, as our minds become still, contentment is what we feel. So it's kind of nice to know that, this is how it works. So there are a couple of ways that we can build up contentment, and it is really, really important in our life because discontent is a very deep form of suffering. We all know this, right? So anywhere you don't want to be, anything that you don't want to have in your life, anything that you reject, at that time, it's like you are in a jail. Even you are in the most amazing, beautiful place, but if you don't want to be there, if you're discontent, then it's like being a prisoner and suffering. However, contentment also requires quite a bit of wisdom. If we sort of incline our minds to say it's okay, but not with wisdom, then it can be quite dangerous. We might be contented with dangerous things and allow some danger to come to us. Just like it wasn't a joke when I said about even now I can hear the helicopter. So, it could be a real danger coming. And the idea, the Buddha never said just, be contented, let the fire burn you down, just sit there and do nothing. Not like that, yeah? So it's not only about the actual fires, but there are so many different kinds of fires coming at us, right? In the Buddha's teachings, lust is a fire, anger is a fire, stupidity is a fire, ignorance, yeah? And all of the other forms, all of these fires constantly come at us. So the Buddha is not telling us to just be contented and allow all of those things to do whatever they need to do and take you for a ride and you end up in some difficulty. That is not how, because some people say, oh, I can't be bothered, that's all right, never mind, it's okay. But that's not how we achieve contentment. How we achieve contentment is by applying right view. So this is very, very beautiful. This is very powerful, right? So this is why this right view has incredible ability to cool our mind, settle our mind, and bring it to deep stillness, deep contentment. So even in our day-to-day life, it is so important that we receive the world, receive our experience with the lenses of right view. Then the result will be true contentment. You will be able to accept things with wisdom, allow things to be the way they are, understanding why and how. And of course, if there is something that can be done to make things better, to make things more skillful and positive and to protect yourself, we must do that. And at the times when we see there is nothing much that can be done, so past causes and conditions are taking its course right now. And sometimes these forces are much bigger than ourselves. So at those times, we just have to learn to be patient and accept what's happening, but with mindfulness. So you learn. So even what is happening isn't skillful, isn't helpful. Sometimes you feel that there's not a lot you can do. And the more you try to do, sometimes you do the wrong thing and make things worse. So at those times, the best thing, at least for me, what I do, is to bring up mindfulness, become very alert to what is happening. But instead of getting upset, instead of saying, I don't want this, I want it to be different, go away, or try to really put forth a lot of will to change it in a big way. Unless, of course, if I'm trying to kill somebody, I will have to do that. But, in the general sense, things are happening. Then it is best to sort of take a step back and watch and allow things to unfold with the view of learning and correcting myself for future. Learning what did cause, like what are the causes and conditions that led me into this place? What can I do differently? What other causes and conditions can I put for the future so that I don't end up in this difficult situation, that I am discontented otherwise? So that would be a better way. At least that's how I feel. So at least it reduces. Otherwise, based on that problem, you create much more problems by wanting it to be different, by trying to do it. And when things are not going well, your mindfulness isn't necessarily great if you're fighting. And when you are unmindful and when you are under emotions, much more unskillful actions are bound to come out from us. So therefore, it is best then to learn skillful means to accept what's happening. Understanding that non-self view, the right view has non-self, right? Like how we are conditioned. All the things that are happening to us are conditioned. And how all of these things are created. And this is very, very powerful. Like just take your mind states. And you can see how your mind states come about by the way how you give attention. You look at something in one way, one kind of story builds up. And that story might build up some anger inside of you. At another time, you might also look at the same situation with a different way of attending, different way of looking at things. And it might be giving rise to a different emotion. Like, for example, based on the same person, you might end up building up compassion. This is something I very often speak about, and that is just this difficult person in your life, for example. The source of your discontent, the source of all the difficulties in your life. What they are saying, what they are doing is probably irrational, inappropriate, harmful, hurtful for many people, shouldn't be done. And when we attend like that, what happens to our mind is we get irritated, we get agitated, we get upset based on somebody else's negative emotion. Just because the way we are attending is that it shouldn't be, that's wrong, it's unacceptable. And these things may well be true, but the thing is, by just doing so, it's not helpful for that person or to yourself. Instead, if you try to apply right view in this occasion and see why is this person doing what they're doing, behaving in the way that is hurtful and harmful for themselves or for the other people, inappropriate, irrational, why are they doing that? If you keep looking, investigating the causes and conditions that led that person to do what they're doing, you will see many things, how they are the victims of their past, victims of their body, victims of their mind, the views they have taken up, the illnesses they have, both physical illnesses, mental illnesses, all kinds of things, yeah, things that are happening in their lives, so many things, wrong views that they have taken up, whatever it is, their cultural upbringing, the educational background, whatever it is, or simply they might be having a headache. Who knows? Yeah. Whatever it is, there is always a reason. And once you actually try to look at these things, you realize, wow, all these things, yeah, they go back and back and back to so many things. And some things are the way they are. Some people are the way they are. It's not that easy for us to, try to change and expect a lot of change from the outside world. Any change that we can do, we can only do from ourselves, from within. So that is what we are doing. So we are changing the direction, changing the way that we attend, the way we look at things. So previously, the way we attended was ayoniso manasikara, unwise attention. It is not coming from a good place, like it's a place of fault finding, telling the other person is not good enough, they shouldn't be doing their wrong. Instead, we can change the way we attend. Yoniso manasikara, that is wise attention. And that is looking into the causes and conditions. Why is this happening? What is leading this person to do this? And we become wise. We understand a lot more about human condition, human beings, about the world, about the samsara as a result. And what happens? Compassion comes up. Compassion is a very beautiful response. Or you can also, depending on where you are at your path, nibbida could come up. That is disenchantment. This is what it is like to be born. This is what it is like to exist in the world, in samsara. It's not a perfect place. So many difficulties, so many difficult people, so many difficult experiences, yeah. Constantly. To our dying day, we will be presented with challenges. So our job is to see how we can use right view, especially this idea of conditionality, to become peaceful, to become contented with what is happening right now. So this is not just by, in a very lazy way, just allowing things to be, but this is fully applying your mind, applying right view with good mindfulness, strong mindfulness. You face things and you allow things to be. And this is how you are able to build up the right kind of contentment. It's kind of very beautiful when this starts to take up in your life. It takes a while until you practice and you start to apply. After a while, it becomes quite easy. Yeah, your mind sort of sees, it starts to see how all these things are created. Sabbe sankhara anicca, sabbe sankhara dukkha, sabbe dhamma anatta. So all the formations are non-self, all the formations are suffering, and all of the phenomena are non-self, anatta, right? So you see in your mind how your mind states are constantly changing, how they are created by you, the way you are attending, how other people are also like that, how all of these other things that are happening in the world, even the worldly things, the weather, whatever it is, climate, anything, physical things as well as mental things, all of these things are conditioned before. So once you see that, you see also there's very little you can do right now to what's happening. So the smartest, wisest, nicest thing to do is to allow it to be, rather than allowing it to agitate you, for your mind to move, to be discontent, to reject. Because this is the current world, isn't it? The current world, the people are constantly rejecting life, rejecting everything, even the most beautiful things they have. They're rejecting, thinking something can be better, constantly living in a fantasy world where everything is nice and beautiful. But it's really beautiful when we are able to really see the world for what it is, what's happening, what's going on, how all these things, how your body is made up, how all your perceptions and feelings are made up, how all your thinking, how your emotions, all of these things are all made up. So when you start to see that more and more, at whatever level you see it, and as your mindfulness increases, you see even deeper forms. Contentment is the right response. Equanimity is also the right response. They are very related. Yeah. So equanimity and contentment are like the flavor of a arahant's mind. So I find it very nice to sort of think that, every time I incline my mind towards contentment, towards equanimity, I'm inclining my mind towards an enlightened being. And you can see that we can grow that. We can, right here, right now, do some work towards that. And it's a very beautiful approach to lead our spiritual life. Just taking up, how can I build up contentment in my life? So every time you become discontent, you don't get discontent about the discontentment. Instead, you have the idea, I'm going to learn from it. You understand, of course, I have my defilements. Of course, my mindfulness may not be so strong. I may not be so wise just yet. So, of course, there will be things that I may not be able to be so easily contented with, and that's okay. So you have an appreciation. Thank you for visiting me. Thank you for this opportunity for me to learn about a challenging situation, to see how can I make peace with this? How can I accept this? How can I build up contentment in the right way? So it's actually really beautiful. And this is why the Buddha said, Santutti Paramang Dana, right? Contentment is the highest wealth, the Buddha said, yeah. And that's very powerful because since we are born, yeah, since we are little, all of us are being taught to, go to school, earn money, have a good job. Why? So you can be happy and contented. So, but we realize, money, that kind of material wealth isn't what brings us happiness, isn't what brings us contentment. What brings contentment is wisdom, right view. Right view is the starting point of wisdom, growth of wisdom. So cultivating right view is really very helpful to us. So spend some time learning about it. reflecting it in your own life. See how you can apply it. Right view is a very big topic, but it brings a lot of peace, a lot of calm, a lot of content. Yeah, so this is also how you can try and protect yourself from not getting affected from others. It's quite difficult. Yeah, it is very difficult. So it's not about just telling the technique. It all makes sense to all of us. So my job every day, every session, is to remind myself and you all. Very important thing. Why is it difficult for us to do these things that seem reasonable and probably even easy? When we try to do it, it seems difficult, isn't it? I know I should accept this person. I should have compassion for them. I understand, but I can't. It's difficult. And you're irritated and you get sucked in. And you feel even bad because you at least know now I should be better. And I've been practicing, I've been meditating, and I'm losing it. Why? So, this is where it's so important to remember the very fundamental teachings also of the Buddha, where he says all of the Buddha's teachings, the entire path, all of the 37 factors to enlightenment are to be cultivated based on 4 foundations. What are they? Viveka nisitang, viraga nisitang, nirodha nisitang, vassagga parinami. So viveka, seclusion, rest is very important. So why is it very hard for most of us to apply ourselves into the path? Apply the Dhamma teaching. Why is it hard to become contented when you know all the techniques, all the reasons, everything, all the Dhamma you need, you know it. You're still discontent. Why? Because we are tired. We do too much in life. Not enough rest in our life. So if you are actually really serious about this Dhamma path, if you truly, sincerely want to make an end to this samsara, first step is do less and have rest. This is absolutely important. If you don't have rest, if you are not able to rest with your body and mind, it's going to be difficult because that is the primary place. So that is why even the Buddha, because he too has a body, he's not beyond his body. His body got sick and he eventually died. Yeah, he had many sicknesses. So once you have a body, the body needs its rest. Of course, his mind. Also, he didn't always spend talking to people, solving everybody's problems, being busy. He spent many times every day meditating, being in seclusion, putting his mind in seclusion. He did it for 2 reasons. One, Ditta Dhamma Sukha Viharana, that means for his own abiding in bliss and delight and peace and joy, but also as a way of giving good example for all of us to remind this is important. Even the Buddha took time off. He took rest. He took time. Yeah, every day he had this time. And every so often he will go away into the forest, into the deep forest, not teaching, not seeing anybody, go on retreat. And this is a fully enlightened Buddha. Yeah, he's not doing it to get anywhere. He's done and finished with his work, but he still has a body. Yeah, he wants to take care of his body so that the body takes care of, body is not in the way. So it is very important. So the reason why it is a struggle for us is because we don't have enough rest. So if you want to be contented, or if you want to make peace with your life, if you want to deal with difficult people, if you want to deal with difficult situations, whatever it may, all of us, all of you know enough Dhamma, what to do. So especially at times of difficulty, please try and find somehow a way to have a bit of rest. You do have time. Now, when you're in the shopping mall, if you meet one of your friends, they start talking to you 15, 20 minutes, you have time. You spend that time talking, right? You don't say, I don't have time. So we do have time in our life, plenty of time in our life. So even if it is not any other time, even when you go to bed to sleep, do it gradually. Yeah, just do it gradually. Just stay there, enjoy being relaxed, enjoy being just by yourself at that time, in your blanket or whatever, on your little cocoon of solitude. Yeah, so somehow find skillful means in your busy lives too. Or go for a walk. If you have a little fish tank or a pot plant, just sit in front of that and just be with that for a little while. If you have a window, just watch the clouds pass by. Just do something even very simple that is relaxing. This is very important, and don't feel guilty about it. So every Dhamma talk, I feel it's my obligation to keep saying this, because people are so conditioned to go otherwise. They are so made to feel guilty for resting, for taking time off, for sleeping in for a little bit. They feel that they have to constantly do something. And meditation and Dhamma practice is also something stressful that they've got to do. And when you can't do it, it's another problem. I can't meditate. My meditation isn't great. And all of this then builds up. Forget about that. Yeah. Just take some time. Have a cup of tea. Just enjoy your cup of tea. Just learn how to just sit into a chair and allow your body to rest. Simple things. Don't do complicated things. Yeah, simple things are the most helpful things. Very practical, but that is where your foundations are. It's a true foundation because viveka. So kaya viveka and then chitta viveka. Without kaya viveka, chitta viveka isn't going to be possible because the body is going to get in the way. Yeah, so therefore it is really important. Look after your sleep, look after your food, look after your exercise, because we have to take care of this body. Each one of us has a different type of body. Find out what's good for you. Each season, the body needs something else. Every day, its needs are a little bit different. So it is a beautiful practice to get in touch with our body, to get in touch with our mind. Where am I today? How am I feeling? What do my body need? What do my mind need? What can I do within my limited ability to help myself? So when you're able to take care of yourself like that a little bit, when you are a little bit chilled, yeah, when you are a little bit cool, then you're having enough resilience, enough ability to deal with life when it presents itself. Yeah. And you know this, that this has been true in your life. There have been days when you were relaxed, when you had a good night's sleep, when you had a lot of joy in your life. Very difficult things have happened. Very difficult news has come to you, and you were able to deal with it. Yet other times, when you have been not having sleep, when you've been sick, when much other problems were there in your life, even the smallest little thing tends to shake you so much, and you're on fire, far away from being contented. So it's really important for us. Yeah, this is why causes and conditions. So putting in the right causes. So I'm not just talking about what is contentment. I'm sure you all know, you can all write a whole thesis about contentment. Yeah, we all know a lot about it, but much more important to talk about the causes that lead that way. It's always the same kind of causes. Yeah, it is taking care of yourself and bringing up joy in your mind. So this is so important. So don't worry about too much all these other things, whether it's your deep Dhamma practice or the light Dhamma practice, or the problems you have in your life, or your health issues, or whatever it is, or the global situations. Just take care of joy in your mind. What can I do? What simple things can I do to bring up a bit of happiness? You deserve to be happy. You deserve to do something that brings you happiness. Find out what these things are and do them. They're going to be helpful for everybody else as well. Because the real things that brings you happiness is always when making somebody else happy. Yeah, giving joy, kindness, doing good things to another person always brings you joy, brings a good mind state. So slowly build up these things. Yeah, so this is where the causes are and conditions. And then, of course, you build up right view. You think about this, you see what's going on. All of these things slowly condition your mind. So even after a period of time, you will realize you are a little bit more contented with life. You don't seem to shake as much as before. Before, when somebody just opens the mouth, you're already falling down. Yeah, they haven't even spoken yet. Right? But now you're able to. Even they are exploding. You are still able to maintain your cool with kindness in your heart, some joy. Yeah. So this is very, very, very good if you are able to build this up gently. But allow yourself to fail. It's okay. Yeah, we are human. That's why I said the verse at the beginning, deep contentment is a state of an arahant. Yeah, and all of us are probably far away from that. So therefore, it's all right for us to lose it from time to time. Never mind. So don't fight with the difficulties of life. That is more trouble. Instead, use right view and see whether you can accept, make peace, become contented, become cool. And contentment is very, very cooling to our mind. All the enlightened beings at the time of their enlightenment, or as they are reporting it, they say, Siti bhutos mintini bhuto. I am cooled as I am, cooled of all of these fires. Even that idea of cooling is so beautiful, isn't it? Really beautiful. So even just bringing up ideas of cooling your mind, cooling those fires, and inclining towards contentment, inclining towards equanimity, just gives you a flavor, a little bit of flavor. And it tastes nice and you want more. So you can incline, yeah, little by little. So this is my little talk on contentment and how to not get affected as much by the difficult emotions of other people. And hope that has been helpful. So you can unmute yourself and ask questions, and also people here can also ask questions. So questions are always good. Yes.
So you said that viraga, nisitam,
Yeah.
and sorry, viveka, nisitam, viraga, atinisaga.
Yeah.
Like these are the foundations for basically the whole path, like
Yeah.
37 very Pakidamas.
Yes.
Um, this is interesting to me because I always thought this was the end of them, like
Yes.
for some reason.
Exactly.
Read
Yeah.
like the end.
Yeah.
You see at the end of this rather than the beginning.
Right.
Interesting.
It is very interesting. Yeah. It's just like right view. You know, Noble Eightfold Path starts with right view, in all sense with right view.
Yeah.
So that's why it is, but it is important to let me say a little bit more about this because I mainly spoke about Viveka. So in case you didn't hear the question, was the person here was saying, it's interesting that I mentioned that the Buddha said all of the 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas, the enlightenment factors, are to be developed based on Viveka, Viraga, Nirodha, and Vasagga. And usually we see Viraga, Nirodha, Vasagga as things that are at the end of the path. And it is interesting that the Buddha says that actually these are the foundations to even start the path. So you wonder how. But it's kind of like this. It's just like that idea. You are inclining your mind. You are allowing things to fade. You know how we hold on to things? So especially this is talking about a lot when it is about viraga and nirodha, it is about the sensual world. So sometimes we have tenacious hold on maybe not all, we might let some parts go, but there might be other parts that we hold on to. But the idea is that you are allowing them to fade. Yeah. And you have that perception of them fading away. It's a beautiful perception, just like the perceptions we built up during the talk, the perception of contentment, the perception of our mind cooling down. It was quite beautiful of just building up a perception. So in the same way, you build up a perception of that sensual world fading away, even just like a movie fading away, like a painting fading away. Yeah, all of those things just fade away into the distance past because you're not associating them, you're not seeing any benefit in them, you actually see the danger in them. You allow them to go and they go further and further and further away. So that is viraga. Yeah. It is fading away into the distance. Quite a beautiful perception. So when you are building up the 37 factors of every factor, you are doing it with allowing things to fade away. So that's what it is when it's at the beginning of the path. Yeah. And you're allowing certain things to cease. And there are things that have ceased. Now, I think it's okay for me to say that almost all of us who are here, either in the room or in the Zoom room, none of us will be going night clubbing, right? Dancing like mad to some heavy music. That has not only faded, that has ceased. That's not something we will ever take up. Is that right? Yeah. So you can see. For that has ceased. So there are many things like that in our life. Since we've started our Dhamma practice for weeks, months, years, so how many decades, I don't know, there are things that have ended. So you're allowing things to end as you're building up the path. It's not about you're practicing now this factor and later on you bring it back. Yeah. So no, you're allowing things to fade and you're allowing things to end. Whatever you see the danger enough, wherever your right view comes up, wherever you have insights, even small insights, it's the insights that extinguish these little things. Yeah. So Nirodha is extinguishment. Yeah. Nirodha is ending. So they extinguish with the power of insight. So this is kind of beautiful. So this is how. Otherwise, you're not building up the path. Yeah. You're doing it when I'm at the monastery, when on Thursday night, or when you're on the retreat. I'm doing my part, and then I take all these things back. You see people do that, right? So that's not how you build up the path. So it's that allowing that. So that is why. So based on seclusion, and when you are your mind and body is in seclusion, the sensual worlds tend to sort of fade, and certain things, as you're ready, as insights come up, they end, they cease. This is not the big ones, the small ones. Yeah. So your mind is inclining. Make sense? It's actually very beautiful once you see that. And when I first came across this, that was very insightful for me. I realized, well, even the way I'm doing whatever I'm doing, I thought I'm living my Noble Eightfold Path. Well, I'm not. Because it is to be done based on these foundations. If it is not based on these foundations, it's like anybody else. I mean, lots of people in the world have good virtue. They have, something like good bodily conduct, good verbal conduct, uh, in other religions too. But what is the difference? One difference is, of course, right view, because right view has to be there for all of the factors. The second one is, for it to be that you're doing it, it has to be based on these four. So that is why the second factor has the renunciation. Yeah. Nekkhamma. So nekkhamma is what allows viraga and nirodha of all those things. Yeah. Right intention. Yeah. So after right view comes right intention. The first one of the right intention is nekkhamma sankappa. Yeah, nekkhamma sankappa. Yeah, nekkhamma is specifically for the sensual world, giving it up, allowing it to fade away. So this is why. So these are there. Yeah. So it's interesting to see this sometimes. Sometimes when we are ready, we see a lot more, a lot deeper. Yeah. And every time it's deeper. Even as I'm explaining this, I see differences again, So every time it comes up in our mind, you see other angles, other depths of what the Buddha is saying, how to build up this path. It's kind of really beautiful. Thank you for that question.